Welcome to Omni Love TV, where we explore the all-encompassing love within us and all around us. I'm your host, Lauren Peters. Hey guys, I'm Lauren Peters, and welcome to another special edition of Omni Love TV Expert Interviews. Today, you are going to learn how to find out who you are and create confidence around your own version of success. So I'm super excited to introduce my friend Brandon Campbell, Master Coach, Confidence Creator, and founding member of ThrivingAlliance.com. So with over a decade-long career in coaching, he has helped thousands of people as a confidence expert. So Brandon, thank you so much for being on our show today.
Thank you for having me, Lauren. Happy to be here. Really excited about this.
Awesome. So I like to get right into the questions. So the very first one is, we were talking about 5 minutes ago, and we're talking about your background and everything. So I know that a lot of times clients approach coaches saying that they're stuck or that they want to change careers or want more money. And it sounds like you're not specifically a career coach, right? Or a money coach, you're a confidence coach. So how does that work? Can you explain a little bit what that type of work looks like?
Of course. What I found is that the majority of people have this perception of what they think or what version of success they think is most important to them. And what I've really found is usually that's someone else's version of success or what someone else has told them that they should be wanting, whether it be more money in their bank account or a different career or whatever it may be. And so with confidence, what I find is that what people really are seeking is the way that they want to feel anyway. So that's what they're always looking for. It doesn't matter what thing it is that you're striving for or what you're looking to achieve in your life. It always comes down to the way that you perceive you're going to feel once you've achieved or once you have a certain thing. So that's where we start in all of the work that I do, is start with that feeling in mind and then create the confidence and the alignment for people so that they can just move in the direction that feels really, really wonderful to them all the way along their journey. So it doesn't have to be like this, put your head down, do all the work, do all the stuff that you hate so that at some point you can have the life that you really want. I just don't believe in that. I don't think that's the way that things are, and I don't think that's the way that we're meant to live as human beings. So I allow people to be who they are and enjoy that process from a point of confidence so that they can let go of fear, doubt, insecurity, what other people are going to think, and just move forward powerfully as who they are and who they're meant to be.
Confidence is like the one thing in life that really pushes you forward. It helps you bypass all of the crap in between, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And so what do people normally come to you asking for?
It's a wide variety. So most people have seen a little bit of the work that I've done with some of my other clients and the other things that they've seen. And usually what most appeals to them is the way that people can have a massive shift in the way that they feel after a very brief interaction with me. So most people are seeking that out. They're like, there are some things going on right now in my life that I'm not real happy with, that are causing me stress, that are causing me anxiety, that are causing me fear, that are causing me something that I don't enjoy, right? That's not enjoyable to me. So what I would like is to enjoy and bring back the belief and confidence that I've had in the past or that I've always wanted to have and haven't really ever found a way how. So that's kind of where people come to me. And more lately, I've been getting people who have come to me where they're already at a certain level of success, where they've achieved some things and they've really started to get what they thought that they had wanted and found that it was unfulfilling and hasn't really brought them the happiness or joy that they had hoped it would. To, unravel in the way that I do things is helping people really see, okay, was this thing that you were seeking and that you were wanting really what you wanted most and what was in most alignment with you? Or was it in fact someone else who had recommended that this be the business that you get into or the career that you get into and like, oh, this is who you are, and literally told people who they were and what they should do, as opposed to being able to feel, no, this is really something that I feel called to do, that I'm excited about doing. And so that's kind of the thing that most people come to me for, is how can I feel the way that I want to feel now?
And so you provide, you help them get the tools to have immediate confidence.
Correct. Yeah. So it's something where the confidence itself is something that can happen very, very quickly. Most people will think that confidence takes going through and achieving a lot of different things and being able to demonstrate to yourself in the external world that you are confident and that you have the ability to do certain things. Whereas confidence is really something that's created within. And so I teach people how to do that and then create the kind of work structure, the lifestyle habits around the way that they do things so that they can consistently feel that way and do the things that, again, are most in alignment with them, so that it's not a forced thing, but it's something that's really enjoyable and that they want to continue to do, because it's something that change can happen in an instant for anyone. I can, have a conversation with someone, even people listening to this or watching this right now can have change take place very, very rapidly. It's generally not what people want most, though. Change is temporary, and you can change in an instant. Transformation, which is permanent change, something that gets taken up by the brain and actually changes the way where it kind of builds into their lifestyle, the thing that's most important to them on a daily basis, and working around some of the things, because we all have things in our life that are chaotic at times, right? Chaos breeds a lot of the success that most people have. And so what a lot of people do is they become reactive, simply fall back into the way that they were doing things previously, and then continue to create the same results that they were unhappy with in the first place. What I help them do is create the tools within themselves to recognize they create their internal state and the way that they feel, and then encouraging that to be something that they take responsibility for from that point forward, and have a lot of different techniques and ways that they can build it into their life. Not that it works for everyone in the same way, but specific to each and every client that I work with, so that it's very individualized. So if you have 5 kids running around, then it may be completely different than if you're a single person who's out there looking for a potential mate. Very, very different lifestyles, obviously. So the same thing that works for one is not going to work for the other, and that's totally okay. It's just not accounted for in a lot of other people's coaching. So,
okay, so you said something that was super interesting a minute ago, and it was that change, when it becomes permanent, becomes transformation. Mm-hmm. Can we talk more about what you think transformation is and looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. So, what most people have experienced in their life at times is change. So most people who are even in the realm of personal development or spirituality or really working on themselves have attended some remarkable events, right? And live events are the best example of this, because pretty much everyone has experienced it to some degree. So you go to a live event, you have a remarkable experience there. You feel like everything is different for you in an instant. The people that you're around, the environment that you're in, everything changes, right? In that moment, at that time. Then what typically happens is you leave the event and you go back home and you go back to your normal environment and your everyday activities that drag you back into what your previous behaviors were. So the event, while changing, was something that was incredibly exciting to experience at the time, doesn't usually last for the vast majority of people. I know, hundreds, if not thousands of people who I've personally attended events with who have had this very same thing take place. So change can happen very, very rapidly. Transformation must take place over time, because the way that our brain works is our behaviors are all dictated by the pattern recognition that our brain does. And so whenever we perceive things, it happens in our environment, right? And you've heard you're a product of your environment. That's far more real than people realize. So whenever you just go back to your normal everyday environment, then your brain recognizes pattern and just goes back doing prior to the massive life-changing event that you just attended. And so for transformation to take place, you have to make changes, not just to yourself internally. You have to make changes to your world externally and change some of the things that go on in your environment or the way that you interact with your environment. And when you can do that over time, then that change can start to become transformation, which is a permanent thing. No one wants to lose 20 pounds in a month and then gain 30 the next month, right? No one wants to have a remarkably better life and, make $100,000 this month and then lose $200,000 next month because they went back to the way that they were operating with money before. What we all want and desire is a lasting transformation that allows us to be a different person on the other side of it. And that's what all of my work revolves around now, is the shift in identity that takes place so that you become a new person. the version of yourself that is more related to your higher self, to the self that loves you, that loves the things that you do, that loves all of the people around you and the environment that you've created for yourself. And so that's where transformation is very, very, very different from change, and why it gets so exciting, because that's what everyone's really wanting. I guarantee you there's no person on this that's watching this with us here today that wants a very temporary, fleeting change to take place in their life and would be really happy with that, right? What they want is transformation. Most people just get the two confused and think that, okay, all I want is the fastest results possible. I want to be able to change in an instant and then be different, and my life will be changed forever. And so they have this perception in their mind that that's the way things work. And in the mind, it can work that way. Unfortunately, in the brain, there's some other stuff going on that keeps that very, very present, and it's fighting you. So there are a couple parts to your brain that are always fighting those changes that you're attempting to make with your mind. And if you don't account for that, then it's fleeting, just like a lot of the other changes that you've probably had take place in your life before.
Perfect. So there's two ways I kind of want to go with this next. The first one is you're talking about the accounting for the fighting in the brain, right? How do I hold myself accountable for the fact that I just don't want to do this right now? And then there's the other side too. I would love to speak on, I guess, just having a small conversation around people who don't yet have a coach, who have always thought that, maybe I should try a coach, because a lot of people are like, oh, I've heard of coaches, but I'm not sure what that means. I have a counselor, etc. And then for the people who do have coaches who maybe are experiencing transformation and maybe not, because I personally worked with you, and it's the work that you do and the work that we've done is just so amazing. I know how truly transformational it is. So what I want to start with is the first one, because even I, as a human being, go through the fighting. Holding myself accountable for waking up in the morning and being super excited to work on my dream passion, and then realizing that, oh, I have client work to do today. I'm super excited about that, but not really. And then the fighting kind of continues. So let's talk about that.
Of course. So the thing that most people get caught up on is not recognizing the distinction between the brain and the mind, right? So in my mind, and from a lot of neuroscience work that I've done, it's a very, very big distinction. And so the mind, in the way that we perceive it, is actually the prefrontal cortex. That's the very front part of our brain, which is the human brain, right? Right here. It's the thing that makes us different than the rest of the animal kingdom, right? We have the creative faculty and we have logic that exists there in the prefrontal cortex. And so whenever we want to change our lives and we want to move forward and experience these wonderful things that we can create as human beings, that all happens in the mind, the prefrontal cortex right there. Now, the problem that exists there is that's not the only part of your brain, right? So we have these unconscious parts of people's brains that they usually just discount and try to ignore, oh, it's fine. I have this up here and it's okay. And so whenever they leave out the other parts of the brain, which are kind of the mammalian part of your brain, which is in the center of your brain and is kind of the emotional center of the brain, and the reptilian brain at the very back of our brain, which is the most primitive part of our brain, those two more animalistic brains are very, very much oriented toward survival. That's their only thing that they're concerned with. So the reptilian brain is straight survival-based things as far as providing and keeping you safe. So shelter, water, food, those things very, very prevalent to the reptilian brain. And then when it goes beyond that, the mammalian brain is very oriented around social dynamics and the way that you fit into the group and the social hierarchy that you have and the different things that you're doing to support your continued involvement with the group. So that's where all judgment takes place for us. And so whenever we're looking at those two things, what they want is things to stay the same. Because right now, the vast majority of people who are watching this, and you and I, are surviving, right? Everything's okay. So the animals are like, hey, things are fine. Let's just keep it where it is, right? So every time that we attempt to make changes from a human standpoint and with our mind in the human brain, then those animals are fighting us all the time. And they're going to say hey, you're shaking things up here. What's going on? Everything was fine. Stop doing what you're doing. Just keep things where they are. And so there's this incessant battle that's going on in our brain all the time. And the human wants growth. The human is most concerned with growth and bettering our lives and achieving things that we've always wanted. The animals, on the other hand, are not. So if we do not take that into account, then we're going to be fighting all the time. And fighting is not the way to experience abundance and to create the life that we want. It's kind of getting everything to play nicely together. And so you have to find ways to strategically support the animals while the human is really looking for growth. So what we talk about a lot with accountability is the stuff that's very oriented toward the conscious mind, the prefrontal cortex, the human brain. It's like, I know I should be doing certain things that would lead me in the direction of having this life that I really want. And I really do want it. It's not just that I say that I want it. I really, really want it passionately. And that just doesn't account for what's going on in the unconscious brain and the unconscious parts of your brain, particularly the mammal and the reptile. So for someone like you, you've seen this, obviously, and you know that there are certain things that you're very, very passionate about and that you're driven to do in your life. And yet, one of the things that you mentioned is client work. Well, I have this client work to do, and I need to get it done, and so my stuff can be put on hold temporarily, or I need to focus on this first. And so that is obviously very mammalian-based activity. It's social pressure to do something for someone else outside of yourself. You're trying to make sure that they continue to like you, that they continue to pay you, that they continue to be happy with what you're providing to them. So what that demonstrates is you loving people external to you and your clients more than you love yourself. And whenever you consistently do that, which we're all guilty of at times in our lives, then we really start to struggle internally because we're always in this conflict where we know that there are certain things that are incredibly important to us that we're putting off and that we're not doing, and that we're doing other things for other people first. And every time that we do that, it also reinforces the pattern of doing that again and doing that more. So that's where this stuff gets really, really push-pull at times, because when we don't even realize that we're doing some of these things unconsciously, what they're doing is continuing to further a pattern, a habit, a behavior that isn't serving us in the growth that we do really want most. And so that's what's going on from a standpoint of where your brain really is and where a lot of mindset work simply misses the mark, because it's only concerned with positive thinking, with creative thinking, with visualization, with stuff that only takes place in the prefrontal cortex. And when that's the only thing that's being addressed, then you're just disregarding all of the other stuff that's there, that's going on. And it doesn't matter how much you say, I don't care what anyone else thinks, I'm doing things my own way. The mammal is never going to get on board with that. And the mammal is just as much a part of you as the human is. And so that's the thing where you see people say that all the time. Like, I don't care what anyone else thinks, I'm just doing things my way and I'm going to do it this way. And that because they want to move forward and they want to achieve the things that they want most. It's just not reality. So you can fight reality all you want. It's just a battle that you're never going to win. So I recommend you get to know yourself, get to know your brain, and then work through these things so that you can do it in a way that you're supporting every part of your brain and really taking it all into account.
Okay, so you said work with yourself. So let's put ourselves in an instance where we are holding ourselves accountable for the mammalian or the reptilian and what's coming up. So do you have any examples that you've recently had with someone that you know where you kind of helped them through this process, or where they might have held themselves accountable and worked through that themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing that's very, very important here is that it's accounted for, right? Like, the social elements need to be accounted for. And that's where most of this exists. Most of us, the reptilian stuff that takes place starts within the mammal, or we're creating it within the human, right? So kind of the three parts of our brain are at odds there at times. But most people don't really have reptilian-based threat, where they're experiencing something that's present danger, that it's like, maybe you step off a curb sometime and there's a car coming and you're like, oh, and have to go into actual freeze response and fight, flight, or freeze. Most people are experiencing that because of what's going on from a social dynamic standpoint. So whenever we're addressing that in particular, what is very valuable is starting to have awareness of where it exists. And so with that, the awareness comes in anytime that you're perceiving others in a certain way. So this is something that's incredibly valuable, because when you're judging other people, you're never judging other people. You're judging yourself. Okay? So anytime that you look out there and you see people doing things a certain way and you're like, "Oh, that's terrible. That's something that is, completely wrong, or they're not doing things right," or anything like that, you're actually just looking in a mirror and reflecting back your own self-judgment. So that's huge. That awareness alone can change someone's life in an instant, like we talked about. Begin to make that change take place. The other thing that's very important to be aware of in that same way is when you can look to others and see the things that you're most inspired by, then that also reflects back. Okay? So when you look at another person and you see where they are and the things that they've worked hard to achieve and the things that make them who they are, and you can be inspired by that, and you can give yourself the gift of really appreciating someone else in this world, then that also reflects back. So those are things that are very much mammalian-based stuff. That's all there. That's all based in either love or judgment, right? And those are the two primary kind of opposing forces that exist there. And so whenever we're recognizing those things and you start to let go of judgment more and more and open yourself up to appreciation and love for both others and in turn yourself, then your entire world changes and shifts. And that's the thing that really allows people to start making these things play nicely together, because it's not about the accountability, right? The accountability that most people are seeking and striving for is because they're doing stuff that they don't want to do, right? Like there are times when we all do things that we may not love to do and that may not be our favorite things that we have to do because it's in alignment with what we want most, right? And it may be where we are on our journey now. So we have to do some of those things. Now, that being said, whenever you're in alignment and you're taking into account the way that you're feeling, then you can choose to feel certain things that are attached not to the activity that's presently going on, what that means for your future, right? So take, for example, a client that I was working with before here a couple weeks ago, and he was really, really struggling in a relationship that he's in. And so he was going through some things and had a lot of stuff that was coming up for him, where he was specifically like having some judgment around some activities that his partner had done, right, and engaged in, that he wasn't particularly happy with. And so we went through and kind of took a look at it. And what he was experiencing, yes, was about something that she had done, and was also about some things that he had done. And so the judgment that he was seeing was reflected back at him. And he was feeling worse about the things that he had done than about any of the things that she had done. And so by having that recognition and that awareness, then we worked through a couple of brief exercises with him where he could see some of those things and move forward in a way that was much more in alignment with the way that he views himself. Because that's the thing. You and I have no ability to control anyone else in this world. The only thing that we have any power over is what we do with ourselves. The way that we show up moment to moment, the way that we engage with people and interact with them, that's the only thing that we have any power to control. Now, the moment that you try to control other people is the moment that you lose all freedom for yourself, because again, that's a battle that you're never going to win. You cannot control another person. And the more you attempt to, the more you're going to just kind of beat yourself up as you do that. So that's the thing in a specific example for him, where he recognized that, okay, yes, these things that I'm seeing have hurt me in a certain way, and I recognize that that hurt is more than it is anything to do with what's taken place outside of me. And that's the big thing, is we're ultimately responsible for the way that we feel around everything that happens in our lives. Because the reality of kind of this situation of the way that we experience feelings and experience the things that make us who we are, it's all internal, right? I have a choice. Something could come and take place right here and be catastrophic and completely earth-shattering from a standpoint of what it could do to a normal person. And I can choose whether or not I experience that feeling and let myself be present with it, or I can choose to say, that's something that I have no control over, that's completely external and removed from me. I'm going to choose to continue to show up and be present and enjoy my life to the best of my ability. And if there's anything that I can do to serve in some way around that, then I will. But the challenge that we see, especially with a lot of us who are more empathetic and who really feel for others and feel for the world and the things that we see taking place in it, we let other things that are outside of us impact us tremendously when we can do very little about them. So you see a horrific natural disaster take place or something like that, and then your heart goes out, of course, and you really feel for the people who are experiencing the hardships that are caused because of it, and that's still completely external. It doesn't mean that you can't do something and provide some sort of aid or something like that, or hold a space for those people and send them some really, really wonderful energy of your own. But for you to go and feel terrible because other people are experiencing terrible things, that's something that is a choice that you're making. And it's a conscious decision to either make that and feel miserable when there's something that you can completely outside of your control, or to feel wonderful and to know, hey, there are some things that I can do to hopefully make their situation even a little bit better. And if I can do that, then they can feel a little bit better, and I can know that I'm serving the world in the way that I'm meant to.
Okay, awesome. So this is a lot of good stuff. I'm going to sum this up.
Yeah, go ahead.
What you've revealed for us just now is what happens is we get stimulated by the environment. Then there's this internal dialogue and this awareness of what's being triggered inside of us. And then again, the awareness of how that reflects how we view ourselves. And then a choice of how we want to respond to that, whether it's an external response or an internal response. And then with that, hopefully we choose to hold ourselves accountable of what we're seeing. Hopefully we choose the highest good for everyone, including ourselves. And then from there, we can be at peace with whatever happens and have confidence, and we can serve with a clear conscience and with a clear mind. Does that sound about right?
That's pretty much sums it up. Well done. Yeah, there was a lot in there, but yeah, that's pretty much the sum of what we just went through. And again, these things aren't incredibly complex. It's the things that are the most transformative in our lives are the simplest things. And so that's the thing that's really exciting about all this, because the thing that people attempt to do a lot is hide from their feelings and the things that they experience internally, right? And your feelings never lie. Your brain does, right? Your mind, and especially your human part, has the creative element. So there are times when it will completely fabricate things that are taking place and do all manners of things to either keep you completely disillusioned as far as what's actually happening in reality, or will sometimes tell you that you're doing more than you really are, right? And you'll justify and rationalize these things, whereas your feelings cannot and will not ever let you down, as long as you're open to experiencing them and letting them guide you. So when you're experiencing something in the present, and you feel something that is not enjoyable, the only reason that you're feeling that is because it's like a warning. It's like, hey, Lauren, something's a little bit off here. Something that you're doing is not leading you toward your best, highest good or your highest self. You're out of alignment a little bit right now. Take a look. And so it's kind of like a warning light in your car, right? You go out in your car and the check engine light comes on, and you don't just ignore it and you're like, oh, it's no big deal, it'll probably be fine, and then keep driving your car for a month, right? Usually you have someone who's an expert check under the hood and make sure that there's nothing that's wrong, and then resolve the warning, right? So that's what people don't do a lot with their own emotions. And if they just simply started doing that and checking in and experiencing what they're feeling, then you can also recognize when things are moving in the direction that will serve you the best. And when you're feeling really, really good and you're enjoying the experiences that you're having, then those are indicating that, hey, green light, keep it up. Something's right here. You're really serving yourself. You're serving the other people around you. Because I really strongly believe that all of us are here to serve others in some way. And it may be completely different for each and every one of us. But I know that as human beings and the parts of us that make us who we are, that's just a part of our reality and the world that we live in. So the more you can come into that awareness and allow yourself to align with that, the happier you'll be, the more joyful your life will be, the more you'll be able to contribute to the world around you, and the more you'll experience abundance everywhere you look, because those are the things that really make us the most aligned.
Awesome. And so I really love, there's been multiple themes in this interview, which is really cool. We've got a lot of options on what to focus on, but I know that from the beginning, we did mention that I want us to take all of our viewers through a very wonderful and effective tool that you use for your confidence work. Would you be able to take us through that right now?
Of course.
Awesome. Okay, so go ahead and lead.
Okay, so for this, for any of you that are watching, if you are listening and driving or anything like that, this is not something to be done whenever you can't close your eyes and relax completely. So very, very important, just warning so that you can ensure that you're in a safe place for this. What this is sort of like a guided meditation. So we're going to take you through and give you the opportunity to check in and experience some really wonderful feelings and just demonstrate to you that you always do have a choice in this and the way that you feel, and that you can create confidence whenever you'd like. So with that being said, what we'll do is we'll start with a very specific way of breathing. So we will breathe in through your nose on a count of 4. Hold that breath for a count of 4. And then exhale through your mouth for a nice long slow count of 8. And then continue to breathe in that way, very cyclically. In through your nose on a count of 4. Hold the breath for a count of 4. And then exhale through your mouth for a count of 8. And as you breathe in this way, just allow yourself to remember a time whenever you were very relaxed, and how you knew that you were relaxed then, and what it was that allowed you to know that you were relaxed. And as you continue to breathe in this way, again and again, recognize that each time you breathe in and hold the breath, you can become aware of any tension that exists in your body. And as you do, each and every time you exhale, you can let go of all of that tension and relax more deeply and more completely now. And as you continue to relax, you can just allow yourself to be open to the possibility that a relaxed state is a very powerful one, because you can access any other state you choose from this place. So as you continue to relax more and more deeply with each breath that you take, just allow yourself to go within and feel just how wonderful you feel when you choose to relax now, and just how amazing it can feel to relax because you've given yourself the gift of relaxation. Now from here, what I'd like you to do is think back to a very specific memory. If you haven't closed your eyes, go ahead and close your eyes now and think back to a time whenever you felt really, really enjoyable. Now this can be a time when you felt confident. It can be a time when you believed in yourself. It can be a time when you were experiencing love for someone or something else. Anything that you choose, just so long as you know that you really enjoyed the way that you were feeling. And as you think to a few memories, allow yourself to choose one specific memory. And whenever you've selected the memory that you'd like, allow yourself to go there now and simply see what you saw, hear what you heard, and feel what you felt in that moment now, allowing yourself to play the memory over and over again, experiencing the feelings and the sensations that come up for you. Now, whatever they are, just be present with them and allow yourself to experience where this sensation begins in your body and how it moves within you. And recognize that by simply recalling a memory, you've just created an incredible feeling within yourself. So it's clear that this sensation was something that has been completely created within. A thought that you had, a memory that was there, that was tied to an emotion, has just been accessed and allowed you to feel something. that's really enjoyable. So with that, allow yourself to continue to breathe, being more and more present and more aware of the sensation that you're now experiencing. And as you do that, allow yourself to just be here, now, experiencing this feeling because you've chosen to experience it, because you've chosen to feel wonderful, because it is a choice. And as you allow yourself to fully embody this sensation now, embrace and begin opening yourself to the possibility of giving yourself this gift more often. Because remember, the only thing that we're ever striving for or looking to achieve in our lives is a feeling. And those feelings we've experienced at other times in our lives already. So why not bring those to the present now and allow yourself the opportunity to move forward feeling this way? Because when given the choice between feeling the way that you feel now or feeling something like fear, doubt, insecurity, worry, anxiety, stress, overwhelm, it's a pretty easy choice to make, isn't it? So as you take a couple of nice deep breaths and allow yourself to come back, integrate all of the things that you just experienced, knowing that you now have a specific recipe of how to create whatever feeling it was that you just accessed. You know where it started within you. You know how it moved within you. So bring that back as you come back to the present now. Rejoin Lauren and I. Allow yourself to feel wherever you are. If there's a breeze around you, if there's a chair under you, whatever it may be, just allow yourself to become totally present, totally aware, and integrate everything that just took place for you.
Wow. I feel so good.
Excellent. As do I. The fun thing about this type of exercise is it's unique for every single who goes through it. So none of us feel and experience emotions in the same way. We all have unique versions. We all have unique recipes. So what you just experienced, Lauren, and what your other viewers and listeners just experienced is completely unique. And that's the way that we're all meant to be. We're not meant to attempt to experience what Lauren experiences or what Brandon experiences. We're meant to experience what you are meant to experience. And those things that you're seeking should be very tied to that feeling and who you are, not to who your coach or your mentor or the person that you look up to or the person who you follow on social media is saying is the right thing. Because the only way that you can ensure that it's the right thing and truly know that is to allow your feelings to guide you. Because when you do that, you know that they can't lie to you, and they never will, because they don't have any way of doing that. They're simply completely honest and give you a point of reference so that you can allow yourself to be very, very oriented toward the things that you want most and creating the life that you really want to live.
Well, I think that's a perfect little closing there for us. Thank you so much for your time today, but also that awesome little, what would you call that exercise?
So to recognize that a feeling is something that they're responsible for creating. Now, most people, again, are just reacting to stuff all the time, and that's where their feelings come from. And unfortunately, the vast majority of people are conditioned to suppress and repress their emotions and their feelings. So they don't really fully experience things very often. And so that's just a little exposure to kind of the tool of opening up to the possibility that you do truly create the way that you feel, and that it can be done completely internally, regardless of what's going on. Because some of you probably started listening to this or watching this, not feeling even close to what you just felt. And now you feel probably much better. You're in a space that you're really enjoying. And again, it's because you created it. I provided a tool. All of the work was done by you. You're the one who recalled the memory. You're the one who allowed yourself to experience it again. So that's the thing is the way that this all comes about is all very, very individualized and is something that, again, is different for every single one of us, which is what makes it so wonderful.
Right. Oh, I still feel so good. Okay. So, like I said, thank you so much. Where can we find you online? And for the people who are interested in learning more about you and to work with you, where can we find that?
So a couple places, the first of which is myalliance.com. And there, what I encourage you to do is kind of read through the homepage briefly with the specific intent of viewing yourself through the lens of what I talk about there, and then check out the experience page that I have. And again, through the stories and the things that people share there, really allow yourself to get what you can get out of it. It has very little to do with them and what they've experienced working with me. What I would love for you to do is experience the transformation that can take place for you. Even just reading those stories can open you up to the possibility of creating transformation in your life. And then for those of you who are very interested around this kind of topic of confidence that we went into today, I would encourage you to go to myconfidencescore.com. And I've actually created a tool there where you can basically get an accurate assessment of where your current level of confidence is and what things you can begin to start doing to really develop and foster more and more confidence within yourself so that you can create it on demand. And there are a couple of actual, opportunities for you to get a more detailed version of the session that we just went through, just for sharing that with some friends and giving some other people an exposure to some of the confidence score assessment. So myconfidencescore.com is where you can get that if you'd like.
Okay, so www.myconfidencescore.com, and then your other site is www.thrivingalliance.com. And of course, you can find Brandon on Facebook as well. And thank you again so much.
You're welcome, Lauren. Happy to have gotten the opportunity to serve your OmniLove TV people, and it was really, really enjoyable. As always, a pleasure to connect with you.
All right, we'll talk to you later.
Okay, sounds good.
Bye.
Bye.